I love working with a team towards a common goal.
For the camaraderie.
Camaraderie and playing with my teammates.
I play for my team.
Teamwork and the connections that I can build on and off field.
For the community and the exercise.
Because of the community and the competition.
I like playing Ultimate Frisbee for the competition.
I play for the competition and the fun.
For fun.
Because fun.
I love getting to work hard.
You get out of it what you put into it.
Leave everything out here.
Every time I step on the field, I want to be a better player.
You know, give something people to talk about.
Be happy but never satisfied. To step away from real life and focus on Frisbee.
I play because I love Ultimate.
Find your drive.
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 All right, welcome everyone to this, I guess you can call it a pre-quarter, some may call it a crossover matchup between Grand Trunk from Toronto and Blackfish coming out of Vancouver, British Columbia. So just to orient the viewers to the tournament, this is each team's third game today. That's okay. This is each team's third game today, and Grand Trunk went 1-2 yesterday, so they crossed down into the lower pools, but they had a pretty successful day today, beating Genesis and Regiment pretty handily, 15-7 and 14-8 wins to make it to cross up from the lower pools. And Blackfish is kind of the opposite. They had a better day yesterday, going 2-1, and then losing both power pool games today, I believe, against AFC Rumble and another team from the power pools. So they're on 0-2 today. But both teams meeting in, the winner gets a spot in the quarterfinals to be in the top 8 and still contend for the title tomorrow. I am Devon Asamoda, and I'm with
Rose Carlton.
And we are here to just bring you this pre-quarter crossover match. So we have Blackfish starting out on defense. That is going to be a big pull coming up from Shintaro Tsukamoto to start the game. So Rose, how's your day been going?
It's been great. I just arrived and I'm arriving at the fields. It's remarkably hot, so I'm impressed with all these athletes who are, you know, most of them are onto their third game of the day. Some of them are second. You'll see some more teams coming up in the next two live streams. But it's hot. There's a little bit of wind. You can see the flags across from on the far side of the field. And it may, or I don't expect it should have an influence. It's not so strong. It shouldn't have much of an influence, but we'll see as the game goes on.
Yes, and Blackfish also was losing to Phoenix this morning as well. Okay, so big pull coming up. We had Grand Trunk on our stream yesterday, so a few of you viewers might be familiar. They essentially run a standard O-line and 2 even D pods. Not a scare to cross it over. So center to Edmund Un, and a little bit of a flick with quick transition from Malik over here. Tsukamoto trying to calm the backfield in for Blackfish. First break chance would be very timely, and that is a score punched in by Justin Chan for the early Blackfish break. Rose, what can that do for each team?
Well, that's a bit of a heartbreaker for Grand Trunk coming around, and it looked to me like somebody throwing and trying to pull back. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to throw that. Now I've done it. It's too late, and it's on the ground. You know, this is a point where Grand Trunk, okay, restart the game. That first point, let's just forget it. Start again. That's it.
Sorry, and I was mistaken. Grand Trunk doesn't do the traditional O&D split. They actually have 2 pod groups, so they'll be going in the same direction each game. So once they get broken, they just send the other pod out. So both lines get to play O&D. Have you experienced that system, Rose?
Absolutely. Sometimes teams do that so they can even out the level of their strengths, and also make sure that, you know, if you've got a bunch of guys who are more used to playing with each other, a bunch of guys who are potentially more comfortable playing either upwind or downwind. So the teams sometimes do that just to be able to keep some consistency between the lines rather than try to do all D, all O.
Yeah, and speaking of consistency, I think Blackfish, after that quick break, is going to throw out the same line. Tsukamoto getting ready to launch a big bull, going in the upwind direction. So you have the wind on your screen going right to left. But nonetheless, GT on offense, center to Tretnik. Looks like a horizontal stack coming at you, isolating Yates. And that is a Huck going up to Dang. And you know what? Hey, they got broken up early, but I think a 2-throw possession to get themselves on the board in this game. So 1-1 with Blackfish up a break.
Dang had a nice read on that disc. You could just see it floating over everybody's heads. The defense had no chance on it. Dang was the only person there who was going to have a chance to catch up to that disc.
So still really early on in our game. So even though this is the crossover, the same rules of Ultimate still apply. The goal is to get to 15 within the 85-minute hard cap. Each team, once you score, you will then throw to the other side, similar like a kickoff in football, and that's going to start off each play. And it's similar to tennis in a sense of once you get the disc thrown to you and you start on offense, you kind of have the advantage. So we call it a break in Ultimate when your offensive line does not go out and score, because that's what's expected of you.
Exactly. And most times teams will talk about what kind of percentages do they expect of an offense line to score. And the defense, usually if the offense can play clean, the defense's responsibility is to cause at least 2-3 turnovers just to make sure and score, just to get you ahead of the game. But ideally the offense should be playing clean. Yeah.
Big pull-up coming from Un. And Blackfish will center to Yen here. Austin Yen being trusted with the keys to this offense. Isolating over to Wesley Wong. That's 0-0 Falk. Working through this backhand force from Grand Trunk, moving it over to KO. And it looks like Blackfish entering their end zone set here. So Wong resetting to KO. And that's number 21, Aston Yen, catching it on the front cone, just beating Lucas Coster there.
Seeing Yen and KO doing a lot of the work in the backfield, moving the disc back and forth. There was some nice patience with Blackfish there, not rushing, and also great discipline about getting that stack into the center of the end zone, giving the handlers both options. Most of these guys can break. They're not gonna be shy to throw it into the break side of the end zone.
Yeah, and speaking about that, that comes from a lot of chemistry and continuity from this program. Both programs boasting a lot of returners from their previous season. Blackfish having an amazing nationals. They did lose some top-end talent to Furious George, and Grand Trunk did lose some talent to other teams in the Greater Toronto area. But a lot of consistency from the roster, and Blackfish even had a few guys move up from Oni, their little brother team in the that program there, that open program there in BC. So we love that both teams are developing talent in their local areas.
It's fantastic. It's after watching the juniors play earlier this week, you can see a lot of these guys who are getting ready to move up to the next level and playing at the senior level.
Yeah, and notably, Grand Trunk has a few rookies like Ross McMullen, Travis Ma, and Canada U20 Open Team player Kieran Grieve coming up from that Toro system. So same ways. I'm sure a lot of Prime members have joined Blackfish as well. So this is GT on offense. Yates getting the disc under, faking the huck, just releasing it over to Gull Bronson. Dang with a nice slash across. A stumbling Justin Chan coming up after him. Looks like they're operating through a bit of a poachy set from Blackfish right now. Tracknet trying to control the offense, tell them what they want from him, working well with Gull Bronson. Moving it over here to Yates. Looks like GT's very content to work in their backfield, now getting downfield people like McLean involved. And that's Martinez Lung over here, throwing it over to Yates. Yates looks to be almost everywhere on this field now. Working it up that open side, Tilgal Bronson. Now they're getting that break flow over to Galbronson and just a bit too far.
The idea was just right to get that swing across. The disc just went, as you said, too far.
All right, so Tsukamoto isolating. Big huck open, looking for number 29. No, number 17, a Suasola. But
Suasola.
But Galbronson starting off this point. Big backhand huck, looking for Yates. And that was him beating Josh Jang in the end zone.
Ooh, with the spike.
Big hype for the big man. Coming out of the Western Mustangs Ultimate Program.
It was a great race between these two, and the bigger man just had a bit more of a reach. Also, I think perhaps a little bit of a better read on which way it was going. I want to just comment on some of Blackfish's defense at the start of this point. And Grand Trunk had, there was a lot of work in the backfield you were mentioning, and when Blackfish does a lot of switching on the handler marks to force them to have to making the handlers work really hard to try to move it upfield and to stop any of that flow up line.
And I believe now it's 2-2 for each thing. Blackfish still being up that break early on in the game.
Yeah, it is 2-2.
All right, so even though Blackfish up a break, it looks to be pretty even. Both O-line groups settling into the game.
Yeah. And I said I wasn't expecting the wind to have that much of an effect. I'm actually wondering if it is as I'm watching this pull hang in the air.
Hey, it's a great pull put up by Turner.
I think all the players got there before the disc did.
Yeah, so that's Austin Yen isolating to Wesley Wong. A little downfield shot too far for Josh Falk. Now GT having a chance to break back themselves, but Lucas Foster's going to have a bit of a task going upwind, starting in the corner of their end zone.
Yeah, the wind is picking up slightly.
It is still like a thrower's gust, but you can't just throw out flat flicks and expect them to be perfect. So Gark with a nice cut to isolate. Ramnaran, a big deep target in that Grand Trunk Red Circus game. So look for him to hopefully put some points up for them. So Turner isolated over here to Fonseca. All right, Monroy, a product moving up from Roy last year, so some vertical movement in that GT program. And now Turner on the break side, faking off McKee, moving it to Coster, moving it laterally, not to Francesca. Francesca. Turner seems to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting here, and Coster, not scared to move laterally. A nice little high release backhand, and Turner trying to put it up, but that was Wesley Wong disrupting that pass to Gark.
Yeah.
So Blackfish with another chance to hold here.
That was a tight pass into that front corner, and slightly behind. Hard to keep your hands on that, especially when you've got a defense on your back as he did.
So Yan marching it up here with McKee on the mark. Yan with a big backhand huck here, looking for Falk again, and sailed perfectly.
That was a gorgeous huck and an incredibly well-timed cut. And I don't know if that was a set play or a late on the stall play, but whatever it was, it worked out well for Blackfish. Blackfish does a good job of leaving more than one option available for the thrower. So once the stall is getting higher, I've noticed that most of the time there is an option long, and they're not shy to just send it.
Yeah, and we're about 5 points into this match. What have you been knowing about these offensive sets? Have you been seeing a lot of vertical?
Not a lot. What I noticed is that I think it's Blackfish is starting off with quite a bit of horizontal set plays, start like off a stoppage or off the pull. They're using a horizontal, pretty much a slash across the front. And I've noticed with Grand Trunk, theirs is a little bit more creative. The last one, it looked almost like a diamond, so I was going to watch this and see what I can see happening. A lot of isolation of a player in the front of the stack.
All right, well, let's see. It might be different between the pod.
Yeah.
But yeah, big pull coming up here from Chan. And these pulls have been sailing.
No kidding.
So that was a huge bid, but strip uncontested from number 17, Suasola.
I think the discussion too is if both of them had it at the same time, anyone who's out there who's been playing Frisbee, we know that offense keeps possession.
So Bronson working it to Dang, and now Grieve airing it out, but it looks like Malik able to disrupt that pass. Was he a little too greedy there trying to force it down the line?
I'm not sure if he was too greedy or if the second Grand Trunk player probably could have kept his guy out. The cutter who's going up line had an option for that. It's always tough to throw to somebody who's running straight up line. You're throwing to the back of the player, and the options for the defense to get in there is high.
So Chan now working with Tsukamoto over to Liu, trying to just marshal up this upwind side for a break. Now that's Zhang. Chan working around with Tsukamoto, really not scared to attack this break side. And the bold throw going up, and Galbronson there to break up that huck attempt from Tsukamoto.
Yeah, that's a tough option, and we are noticing that the disc is floating quite a lot. So it gives the chance for the defense to get underneath it just as much as the offense instead of privileging the offensive player's cut.
So Yates, as reliable as ever in the cutter space, slashing open. And that's another huck from Grieve looking for Dang. And that's number 29, Jason Liu, able to. So even though Jason Liu's on Vancouver Blackfish, he's no stranger to Dang, as they probably matched up a lot when Dang from McMaster played Liu while he was at Western Ontario. So
that could be a fun matchup to keep an eye on. Certainly both of them are quite quick. Both of them are reading the disc well.
There's a few players actually on the field currently for Blackfish that did some university time in Ontario, like Malik at Queen's University and Shintaro coming over from Carleton. But a little huck turnover there from Chan, and right on the offensive. That's a nice inside shot from Martinez Lung, and that's Grieve with the score.
Nice. That was a beautiful little IO shot. Nothing floaty about that pass. I think both teams have been caught up a few times with some floaty passes into space and forcing their receivers to run with a defense. Like the defense is quite close on both teams. So when it's floaty, it becomes a 50-50 option instead of like really privileging your own offensive player.
Yeah, and that was probably the longest point we've seen so far with a few huck turnovers. You know, they were D'd a lot in the end zone, but I guess that's some teams getting some familiarity with each other's systems.
Yeah, and both teams we've seen that last point. It's like both teams, they're going to put it up. They're going to put it long. They're also coming under, so neither team can take a break and say, "Oh, this team is only cutting under, so we're going to stop all the in cuts and we're going to let them have the longs." No, both teams are telling each other we're not shy to do either way, to move the disc side to side, to go with the in cuts, or to go with the longs.
So this is now that upwind Grand Trunk pod. Winds definitely died down, so it should allow Edmund Unspul to go a little farther. And we hear O-line chants from Blackfish. And the pull is up. So nice collect to Yen. And McKibben getting this, putting up a big one. And it looks like just an easy clap catch to Wesley Wong. Some miscommunication on a switch between Un and
I'm wondering if that's a miscommunication on a switch or a miscommunication on where I thought we were forcing home indications going on there. I can't tell. You might have had a better view of that.
Yeah, you just saw, Edmund Un and Lucas Coster looking over. Both didn't want to cover the under, but both didn't want to commit to the deep, and then that let Wong slip on through.
Yeah.
But you know what? Those hiccups are going to happen. It's just about how you can bounce back from those mistakes. Yeah, Blackfish got an easy score, but the game's still pretty close. 4-3 for Blackfish. And speaking about out-of-province university, Aiden McKibben putting up that assist, and he plays with McGill throughout the fall and spring series.
Nice. So well covered in terms of the university players across Canada.
Yes, no Waterloo players on Blackfish like my alma mater, like Matthew Gulbronson and Edmund Un are from the and Ross McMullen newly. He just finished like second year or something from the University of Waterloo. My Warriors.
Ah, your juniors?
Warriors, like
Warriors,
Waterloo Warriors is like the mascot we had for university.
Oh, okay. Learning something new here.
Do you support one school in the university series?
Either University of Montreal or McGill.
Well, not two very good schools to support. All right, so Tratnik faking around a little bit, dumping it off to Martinez Lung. Now working with Gold Bronson to get it up the field. All right, so Dang getting the disc. However, looks like a pick's called by Chan, and Tratnik just trying to tell him, hey, I think you're a little far away. But that's why we have Team Orange, the observers. Rose, can you explain who these orange jerseys are on the field?
Sure can. These guys are the observers for this game. We have 4 of them. Their role is to make sure that the flow of the game is not too impeded by calls and things like that. They can intervene. They can call live in and out calls, not just on the field, but also in and out for the end zone. When there is a call on the field like we're seeing right now, the observers can usually step in just to listen to start off with. If one of the players needs a rules consultation, a clarification of what the rule is, the observer can offer that clarification. Also, the players can request, what was your opinion? What did you see? What was your perspective? If they do so, the call of the observer stands.
And unbeknownst to most, you can also just ask them what the rule is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Sometimes as well, the observer will say, actually, I didn't see it. So, if you guys agree, if you guys cannot come to a resolution yourselves, we're going to return the disc to the thrower, start the play again.
So it looks like Dang is going to retain the disc after a lot of conversation.
Yeah.
All right, tapping it in. Nice working over to Martinez Lung. All right, that's Sigurdsson on the far side. Moving it over to Tratnik, still working on that open side.
Nice grab.
Illich. You would have seen him wearing some orange shorts in their last stream game. Clearly not the vibe of the team this summer. And a big hammer over from Yates to Martinez Lung. You know what? That's in his bag. He can just throw those.
Yeah, but that was also a great grab under pressure. Impressive.
Very impressive from Martinez Lung. And that is going to be a hold from Blackfish. So a lot. It seemed like very dramatic, but a lot had to happen for 4-4. Blackfish still up a break, but again, got to acknowledge that back throw hammer from Yates.
That takes some guts to throw those, and a lot of practice, I hope.
A lot of practice, but I guess once you throw it regularly, you just have those.
Yeah, once you get getting some confidence. Also, a hammer like that, a cross-field hammer, there's a lot. It's really hard for the defense to do much about that. Although I have to say, in this instance, the defense pressure was tight.
They did all they could, and just even staying in bounds was a challenge.
So far, this is a pretty evenly matched Match.
Evenly matched match. Yeah, both teams really want this all. Like, Grand Trunk, despite coming third in their pool, moving down to the lower pools, they lost one game on Universe to General Strike yesterday, 14-13. And they lost to Red Circus here on stream, I mean, 15-11. So, 2-point swing, and they are in the power pools too. So, don't underestimate this team coming up from the lower seed. So, Edmund Un, a reliable puller for this Grand Trunk side. Centered to Yen as always. Working it over to McKibben. Nice little inside flick here to Wong. Seems like they're getting very free here. Falk over here on the near side, faking it off. Yen just getting free in the handler space. Kark not able to leave his feet to challenge Wong. KO on this far side. And that pops up, but hey, great snag over there from Wong. Working over to KO, now to Yen.
KO's all over the place.
And that's a big grab from McKibben for the score.
KO is all over the place. Active movement in the handling set.
Yeah, you're going to see a few key players pop up, whether it's just helping them move the disc. It's not all about who goes on the stat sheet, right?
It's true. Oftentimes you'll see like there are a few players that will be incredibly involved, touch the disc a lot all the way up the field, and then you don't see their names on the stat sheet despite the fact that they've contributed a huge amount to their team.
And during this break, I think we should shout out the coaching staffs helping man the line calling here for the thing. For Blackfish, we have Will Tang in his first year coaching over with Josh Tan. And for GT, they didn't have any designated coaches throughout the season, but a couple injured players like Ian Bone, a long-time captain of the program, and I think Tristan Galisbo helping out with some line calling here. So thank you to the people who help run our Ultimate teams. And let us just focus on playing. Rosa, yourself, you have coached many teams, haven't you?
Recently, I've been coaching in the junior levels. So I was coaching an under-16 Montreal team, Argand, and I can tell you more about that after this point.
Yeah, big pull here from Chan. Love the hang time. Martinez Lung is center two'd by Yates.
Starting with a slough off the handlers.
And Martinez Young putting it up to Yates. Looks like he's a bit out of position, and yep, that was Josh Jang ripping it down.
Might have been a smaller guy out there, but he really had great body position on that defense.
Yeah, Tsukamoto working it over to Owen Chan. Back to Tsukamoto. Blackfish just struggling to get these under, so they're having to do a lot of lateral movement. Over to, I believe that's you, and now Malik having the disc. And that inside just going too far. So, Yates picking up very quickly, working over through Gal Bronson. And Martinez Lung having to go horizontal to keep this disc alive, but nonetheless, GT hoping to get a hold. Gal Bronson here on the close side.
It's a little static in the cutter area.
Yates doing a great job to get free from Jang up line. And that is a nice grab by Travis Ma, one of the rookies on this team.
Yeah, that was a really pretty grab. There's a lot of discipline in their stack, but sometimes I'd like to see Grand Trunk have a couple more cutters get more involved. Doesn't have to be to stop that upline movement, but maybe go to the break side, take a cut, get that defense out of the way.
Yeah, you didn't see them moving too much laterally side to side.
No. With Blackfish there, you made a comment about them having trouble sort of like moving it upfield. Sometimes I would like to see Blackfish take the first option. They're sometimes not taking that first option. I don't know if they're just not ready to throw it or if they're looking for something in particular, but it does sort of stymie their movement, their initiating movement.
Yeah, and those points we're making are probably why, it is 5-5. So we haven't seen a break since, I believe, that second or third point of the game.
We started with one, we got one a little later, and now it's been exchanging points.
And how do you feel like this affects line calling now throughout the game as this match is continuously to be tight?
Interesting question. If it's tight, it means these teams are quite evenly matched. At the same time, it's very possible that as the game progresses, coaching might look at who's on fire, who's working, who's doing really well. Also, there's a tendency to go back to your usual suspects.
Yes.
Who do you know can get the job done?
So we see a zone look coming from GT to switch it up, but doesn't fluster Yen too much. Still working with Wong. And we see a little high flick over. Melt called. Falk just patiently waiting to reset to Wong. Oh, Coster with a nice bid, but Yen able to retain possession. I believe that's Anson lit with this first time calling his name. McKibben getting it over on the close side. Yen just shaking free of Coster up line. And a pick call in the end zone.
These guys need to get out of that one corner.
The coach and you's coming out seeing this undisciplined stack from Blackfish.
Yeah.
And yes, Yen just trying to tell them to straighten up.
Or just stay where everybody is and just send one over to the break side. That works too.
That's a very nice around break. Falk catching that on the far side. And yet another hold from Blackfish.
Yeah.
So GT, they tried something different. They threw a zone.
I'm happy. You know what? I'm not angry at that. I think it was a good start. If they're noticing, Blackfish has sent quite a lot of long bombs up. So a zone like that stops any initiating play, and especially initiating long play. They didn't keep it long. As soon as it was one break over, they switched really quickly to man. Just couldn't stop that throw from Yen.
Yeah, that was a nice OI backhand around.
It really was.
Taking advantage of that flat mark from Grand Trunk there. But it's like, you know what? They protected that front cone, and they left the opposite cone open.
Sometimes you've got to make a choice. What is the most dangerous? And that front cone was clearly going to be the most dangerous thing to protect. And the far side, not everybody can make those throws. Yes.
Takes a certain level of skill, but also the confidence in yourself to execute it well under pressure there at the front of the end zone.
And in a defensive situation against that sort of thing, you might want to talk to each other as you're walking off saying, okay, we can work together as a team. Make sure that there is somebody off on that break side to take whoever is going there. It doesn't have to be the guy you're matched up with to start off with.
Yeah, so what we have been seeing from both teams is very reliable pulling from Un and now Chan just putting this big one up around the GT end zone line, but Galbronson fields it to Tratnik, and they're around their brick mark. So not seeing what he liked on the start, so moving over to Galbronson. Sigurdsson over here, and a nice little backhand hook. Is it going to be a little too far for Dang? And I think he'd like that one back.
Oh, I thought that might hang in the air, but no, not this time.
I also think Dang was cutting under when
I think you're right.
Sigurdsson put that one up. So Tsukamoto, who we've seen marshal up some big shots here for this Blackfish D-line. Let's see if they can break to take a more commanding lead.
Isolation play to start.
Leaving Malik wide open. So Tsukamoto getting free of Shintaro. Sorry, Tsukamoto getting free of Galbronson.
It was a great job on the mark.
Over to Chan. Chan with a far flick. Leading pass, looking for Jang. Jang just steps outside of his end zone. And Malik able to beat Tratnik up line. But Illich calling a travel, saying his foot was not on the end zone line when he threw that.
Yeah, and it was pretty gutsy to throw sort of like that dad beach backhand throw into the end zone.
And you see boos coming from the Blackfish sideline. Very animated over that travel call.
Yeah, and you know, as somebody who's really strong with encouraging high spirit, I'd like sidelines to keep quiet on those kind of calls, leave it on the field. The players themselves can discuss it, and there are observers there to get involved if there's something that is not quite right.
And a timely timeout here from Jang.
I'm curious what you think about a timeout call on an end zone line like that.
You know what? I think he was looking at 4 teammates behind him, 2 teammates in front of him covered. I don't think much would have materialized in the next 5 stalls. So I think I think he saved himself.
Yeah, there's often discussion about that, about whether or not calling a timeout on an end zone line. There are times when you shouldn't do it and give the defense a chance to set up. But there, as you say, in that sort of situation, it was kind of a mess around him. And the stall count, I don't know where it is.
Probably low.
Probably pretty low. He's got some time to work on it. What would you set up here if you were them?
I think the trap here is to set up an ISO and look for someone to just beat their check. Yeah. I think dump and swing.
Yeah.
That's probably the best one here.
I like what you're saying, too, about having more than one option. Give the option for somebody to beat their check right in front, and always have that option for the dump swing.
Yeah, and Grand Trunk has a lot of experienced players, and I do believe that they will set up a poach set likely to stop, that ISO thing. So you see Gall Bronson and Illich sitting
they're doing what we said.
In the lane, and it looks like, Blackfish setting up with the standard. So we'll see if Jang can make some good choices and punch in this break for Blackfish.
And there is a poached player.
There has to be a call.
There is a pick call, and I can see why they're calling a pick call. You see 2 white jerseys on the ground there. I think that's Gal Bronson and Sigurdsson. Both doing a pretty great job of trying to stick really close to their guys and smash right into each other.
Yes.
Observers involved.
Thankful for observers. It looks like a pick is called. And Gall Bronson, very animated, trying to say that this goal should not stand.
Yeah.
Because he was on the ground when it was thrown.
Yeah, both of them were, in fact.
All right, so let's see the stall we're coming in at. Looks like we might be coming in at 6. 6, I believe, is the stall count. So exactly what we said we didn't want to happen. Jang over here with a high stall count.
And we see Chen over there raising a little finger in the air saying, hey, look at me, uncovered, think about it.
And gets the reset off here to Liu, and Tsukamoto just right there to punch it. Blackfish getting their second break of the game.
Tall man with some fancy feet, making sure with his the first contact was into the end zone. They didn't want to get it out of that tiny little corner, did they?
Not at all. Just a nice little reset. There's a lot of traffic there, a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
So now looks like Grand Trunk will likely call a timeout. They're all just meeting in the middle of the field here. Captain Bones just trying to steady the ship.
Yeah, and I think there were some emotions coming out in that last point, just near the end there. So if you were Captain Bone, what would you be saying?
I'd probably be telling them, like, hey, we've worked very hard this season, This is a team that got upset at regionals last year and didn't actually make nationals.
Oh, really?
Probably the first time in, like, a lot of years. Maybe 8 years, 10 years, I don't know. Oh. So definitely, they're definitely happy to be back at nationals, but they believe they're a top 8 team. And he's probably just reassuring them of that. Like, we've worked really hard, done a lot of work on the culture, and a lot of work on their performance. So I'm sure he's just reminding them of that. And they haven't gotten a break yet, but it's still well within their control.
Oh, for sure. They've come close. They've had their opportunities. They can do it. I think they've got the skills and they've got the players out there and they've got the legs out there. I am wondering if they're going to shorten some of these lines at this point, as you were asking earlier.
Yeah, they have that pod system for a reason, so it might be harder to now just cross over all your players consistently, but it's probably such a situation where they've talked about before.
Yeah, and I wonder if within their pods that there might be players that you rely on in tougher and sort of tighter situations, and other players that you may use sort of in, I don't know, maybe specialized situations, or you might ask to sit a couple.
Yes, very likely, but we haven't seen this pot out on offense since they've got broken early on in the game, so let's see what the likes of Francesca and Coster and Turner can do to help bolster this Grand Trunk and close the gap on Blackfish. So, big pull from Chan, but offside called. Grand Trunk will let it hit the ground. What's an offside? What happens? What's going on?
Offside, again, that's one of those things when you've got observers, the observers are calling those. So the observer called an offside. It means the defense crossed at least one player crossed the goal line before the disc went up, which means that Grand Trunk had to let that disc hit the ground to have the option of bringing it up to the brick mark.
So, a pick called very early on in the stall count. McKee was suspiciously open here on this close side, closest to the camera. So disc will likely. All right, so.
I think the decision here is that the disc will stay where it is, because Jang is saying, I couldn't get there in time to get the mark, but I couldn't get there in time to stop it either. Yeah,
so him catching up. McKee over to Ramnaran. Back to Un. Un now finding another Ramnaran. And that's McMullen, the rookie from Waterloo, coming over here. Working over to Coster, and now McKee. Oh, McMullen just couldn't get that low throw from Coster. So Blackfish with a chance to break for half, and here's a big throw up from Yen, looking for Malik.
Oh, that's asking a lot of Malik right there. There was no float, nothing.
So that quick run and gun leaves GT with a full field to work up to, but how did you like GT's offense on that first run up?
You know, I liked the fact that they were using the width of the field. I was a little concerned that they didn't give themselves a long option because they had somebody hanging out a little too far back at the back of the stack. If they want to use the long option, they need that back of the stack to come in closer.
And that is Yen foot blocking Un. Now Blackfish just steps outside of their end zone looking to take half. Trying to get organized right now. You see Malik isolated at the front. Yen going around.
And that's what Yen doing Yen things. Like, we've seen him do that break force backhand a few times.
And you see the sight, them jumping on Yen. He got his foot block, and then he threw the around assist. And that is halftime. We will be back in a bit. Maybe a cheeky halftime interview, I don't know. All right, this is Devon, and I am here with
Nathaniel Ferris.
And how long have you played with GT so far?
This will be my 3rd year now playing with GT.
And I know you haven't always played in the Open Division, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Coming over from the Mixed Division Union. So,
yep.
Down 8-5 at half, how do you feel the game is going for you and your squad?
Like, obviously it's tough to be down a couple breaks to this early in the game. We'd like to be much closer. But the energy's there. I think every point's been pretty well contested. Neither side is just getting free points. So, like, I think we're working to keep our spirits up and looking to bring that energy into the second half.
And you guys took a timeout down 7-5 there. What were some of the things said in the huddle?
Mainly just reminding everyone that we're all good players. We all deserve to be here. Take a deep breath, refocus, and just remind ourselves like what makes us great, and then go out there and execute.
And so starting on defense the second half, what are some things you guys want to key on to disrupt this Blackfish offensive flow?
So obviously I think there's a pretty clear player on their team who runs their offense, and so we want to make sure number 21, Austin Yen. Yeah, so we want to make sure to disrupt his flow, and part of that will involve putting different matchups on him. I guess we can have maybe our strongest defender on him all the time, but then he gets used to that guy. So by changing up the looks, having maybe a bigger body that's going to make it harder to maneuver, or a smaller, faster guy who's going to be more on his hip, make it different. Don't let him get comfortable. Try to break up those shots.
Okay, and what has been your favorite part about being in Ottawa so far?
Being in Ottawa, I mean, honestly, I've not done anything other than just come to the field and play Ultimate. So
just come to the field, play Ultimate. All right, give me the best and worst jersey of a team you've faced so far.
Best and worst jersey of teams that we've faced so far. I honestly got to give props to Red Circus's jerseys. I really like the
cream,
the gray, and the dark gray for their darks, as opposed to being just a straight black, right? Like, lots of teams just do black for darks. Worst jersey, oof. I don't know. I feel like the only jerseys, the lights that they wore, were just too busy for me. Like
the Oni, yeah. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I think Oni will have a polarizing jersey of the division. All right, any last words, anything you want to say to someone back home on the stream?
I mean, like, thanks everyone who's tuned in. Like, really appreciate all the support, and hope that we can turn this around and make you guys proud.
All right, good luck here in the second half.
Thank you.
Okay, we are back here, Devon and
Rose Carlton.
And Rose, any thoughts on that first half? GT down 8-5 and a multitude of breaks for the Blackfish side.
Mais honnêtement, je pense que les deux équipes sont assez égales. Il y a pas, ils ont eu, c'est juste vers la fin du le premier demi que Blackfish a commencé à avoir commencé à mettre beaucoup plus de pression en défense sur Grand Trunk. Grand Trunk. Je pense que je peux dire ça en plus anglophone. Et Grand Trunk a eu de la difficulté de répondre rapidement à une défense plus tight, plus serrée, plus intense. Et l'autre chose que je trouve que c'est Blackfish a bien utilisé les lancers de Jen.
Yen.
Yen.
Yep.
Il y a 2 fois vers la fin du match que Yen a lancé son backhand around, que Grand Trunk a eu aucune chance pour faire la défense. Mais j'ai hâte pour le deuxième demi pour voir qu'est-ce que Grand Trunk va faire pour répondre à la défense intense, puis aussi une offense plus clean, plus activée que Grand Trunk maintenant.
All right, so quick translation. Teams are very equal. Blackfish has Austin Yen, and he's kind of doing whatever he wants. GT's going to have to play a very tight, clean second half to catch up. But big pull coming up here from Turner. Looks like there's some crossover, putting up a powerful D-line. So Yen getting center too. We have Sigurdsson on the mark here, a new matchup for him. And Gulbranson putting a lot of pressure under that shot to number 72, Wesley Wong. Yen getting the disc in the backfield. Only one in the backfield right now for Blackfish. And now getting more players like Wong involved. A lot of unders here. KO providing some reprieve. Gulbranson shutting down the open undercut from Falk. And McKibben putting up a big one to Yen. We haven't seen Yen strike a lot. But it looks like Sigurdsson and Yen got tangled up and a foul called from Sigurdsson.
Yeah, and I think Yen was clearly the target, but Yen and Sigurdsson were both going in for it and getting a lot of contact. Did Sigurdsson have a play on that disc? I think the foul is being called. I suspect the observers are getting called in right now to talk about could Sigurdsson have gotten there to make that defense on the D if he hadn't gotten caught up.
And it's a bit of funny for this reenactment because now Sigurdsson has to wrap his arms around Yen to let the observers know what happened. So you're kind of tied to the person you're dancing with now.
Yeah, but a great read from
Falk.
From who was it?
Number 0, Falk.
Oh, Falk, who just came running in with some speed. He had a great read on that disc there to save the day. So right now.
And I believe they're saying it was uncatchable from Sigurdsson and Yen. So Falk getting credited with the goal and McKibben getting the assist, and still a clean game for the Blackfish offense, unbroken.
And right now you see a little bit of disagreement still coming up with from Grand Trunk, Sigurdsson, and this is one of those examples where if you choose to go to the observers, and it can be either player, it doesn't have to be both players, but either player can request the intervention of an observer. Once the observer makes a call, that call sticks.
So now 9-5 Blackfish to Grand Trunk, and not the start to the second half they wanted, but
no, but very similar to the start of the first half. So Grand Trunk, now it's their turn to have to get back to get back on track, and get this point. They need to get some confidence back. They need to get, I would say, reel in some emotions. You can see some emotions getting up in both of these teams. And I don't mind the intensity on defense. Get that intensity out on defense. But once they've got the disc in their hands, they need to sort of calm it down and gain some control of their own movement. Play their game. Don't get caught up into Blackfish's game.
Yeah, especially in the heat, that's where emotions really fly, because your body might be breaking down and leaving a lot less cognitive energy to manage or regulate those emotions. But McKee fielding the disc over here to Tratnik, and just a bit too low on the centering pass. So Tsukamoto looking to capitalize very quickly, and that's McKee getting it right back with a layout D. A little bit of a misexecution on both ends.
Yeah, if you've just made an error, that's the best thing you can do is come right back out and put on a tight D.
So Tratnik with the throw. That is Gark dumping it over to Yates, and Yates with a long bomb, but the Blackfish defender swiping it. But we have a call from a couple throws ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the call is up here, but usually it looks like it might be a foul on the thrower call.
that throw did pop up, so that would make sense why Tratnik is calling the foul.
Actually, I think it might be 15 Tsukamoto from Blackfish who's calling the foul on Tratnik for saying that he pushed him off to be able to make that throw.
And now you have to do the dreaded
reenactment.
Where did I go? Where was my defender? I'm sure in 20 years Ultimate will be advanced where there's just lasers on the ground telling you where you were when the throw went off.
So you can see the footprints.
Yeah, that's my next dream for the sport. All right.
They look a lot cleaner than they were earlier.
Looks like Tratnik dumping it off to Martinez Lung. Now working over it to Rorda. And Tratnik having to big layout there to retain possession.
Tough read.
And that's dumping off to Dang. Now Yates just outside the end zone. Throws a scoober to Rorda. And another bag throw from Yates. Rose, you're looking at him kind of funny.
I am. I think to keep it positive, I'm going to call that creative. Was it a high percentage throw? Not a chance.
High percentage, but high stall.
High stall, perhaps. That was one of those experiences on the field where everybody wants to get there and make that score. You saw everybody running around in the end zone. There was not a lot of space to make a cut and not a lot of space for him to see where to throw. There was an opportunity early on to make a quick dump pass to McKee. Probably would have been a good option right there. But I'm saying all this means nothing because they got the goal. Repeat the same thing again, I wouldn't recommend it.
All right, so now Turner looking for a deep pull and looking to put this Grand Trunk into the break category. It's still yet to have a break this game. Are you surprised about that, Rose?
A little bit, except I'd like to really see them work together in their defense. Blackfish does a lot of switching, some sharing on D. They're also very quick, and I think they've got that over Grand Trunk. So if they're going to stop it, they got to work together.
Long centered over to Yen. They stick the Sigurdsson matchup on him. Coster trying to jump the lane, but it looks like there's a pick call.
There is a pick call. Grieve probably could have gone in there and made that D. He didn't have to stop.
Oh, someone gets a card. I believe that's a blue card going over to Coster.
And the blue card is a team misconduct foul. Maybe I would say.
And Yen picking up the disc here. Sigurdsson on the mark.
Actually, not poach.
And Ramnaran there to knock it down. Moving quickly to stop the disc from rolling too far back. So Yates picking up the disc. Wasn't originally on this line, but injury subbed in for Grieve. So throwing the hammer over to Turner. McKibben doing a great job on Gulbranson in the backfield, making it very hard for him to get the disc, but nonetheless gets the disc over to Ramnaran. Marked closely by Wong. Dumping it off to Gulbranson. The team using all the over the tops here, getting the disc over to Turner. Now another Scuba, and the long arms of Yates getting it. Putting out that silky backhand to Gulbranson for their first break of the game.
That was a lovely throw into the end zone from Gulbranson. I think it was Gulbranson who threw that silky backhand, you called it?
Yes. Sorry, that was Yates throwing that silky
throwing
backhand.
A silky backhand. That was a lovely throw. You know, there was a lot of, you mentioned there's a lot of overhead throws. It was a good thing they had those throws because Grand Trunk was doing a lot of crossing into each other in the middle of the field, but it gave them that option of the break side. Once they got it moving really nicely up the break side.
And that must feel really nice for this GT D-line group who have been chomping at the bit. And so much happened on that point. I believe that was the point the blue card was brought out. We suspect it was for the double teaming efforts from Lucas Coster, trying to stop the huck because the observer was pointing to how close Coster was. But like you said, we're not down there, we're not playing the game, so we can only speculate. And a timeout called.
And usually an observer won't get in there to make a call like that unless they're requested, but it's possible that they've seen it happen earlier in the game. And I know when observers have given warnings to teams about things like a double team, and if it's called over and over and over again, they will give a team misconduct foul.
And so now, who do you think called this timeout?
Is it a timeout?
It was a timeout.
Oh, it was a timeout. I would strongly suspect it would be Blackfish to break some momentum.
Oh, I think it was GT. GT probably calling it to give their D-line a rest.
And get some of those players back out there.
So GT down 9-7. It's still possible for them to come back and make a comeback here. Remember, folks, this is for top 8. They're really fighting to get into quarters.
Yeah, both teams want this. And right now, Blackfish has the edge, but Grand Trunk isn't making it easy on them at all.
Not at all. Very exciting end to the game. Turner going to dial up a big backhand pull for this Grand Trunk side. Blackfish signaling they are ready to receive the pull.
Turner's the only one out there wearing gloves today.
Yeah, you know, it's a bit hot. I feel like the sweaty hand folks would understand why Turner's wearing gloves on such a hot day. So big backhand IO rip. Centering to Wong. Yen not in the backfield. Coming out of the side stack. Sigurdsson doing all he can to stop a huck and got a little piece of that. So that's Illich cleaning up the garbage, but credit Sigurdsson with that initial block. So now Gulbranson working with Coster. Over here to Turner, trying to punch in yet another GT late second half break. Upwind hammer over to Grieve. Looking a little tentative from some of the downfield cutters here, not working as hard. But when you have players like Gulbranson, Turner, and Coster, you don't need all the downfield production. Turner on the close side. And Grieve getting free, but a pick called.
He did look remarkably free with a lot of static behind him.
And Illich trying all he can to explain why that pick should still stand for a goal. You know, you always need a team lawyer, a team debater here to put your hand on the shoulder of the other team and say, listen, I know why you think that, but hear me out.
But that's the whole point of having call and discussion. I think when there is a call, give your perspective, ask the other player their perspective, keep it concise, keep it short, keep it respectful, and then either you agree or you disagree. If you disagree, it's a contest back to thrower. Simple.
I will say I think they're wasting time. The disc is going to go back.
Of course it is.
It's 9-7 in a crossover game to top 8. I
no one is going to say,
I think
sure.
every call here might be contested. Obviously, a more spirited game. We'd hope that they talk it out and really hear each other's perspective. I just don't think that's what this is for right now.
Yeah.
All right, so Turner gets the disc back. We'll have the observers yell out the stall count, coming in on 3. So they do have a lot of time here. And this is Jason Liu on the mark. Got Bronson in the reset space, working very hard to get open. Illich making a nice pressured grab here from Wong. Over to Sigurdsson. Faking that around. He has Bronson in the backfield. Bronson just a couple yards outside their end zone. Over to McKee for the first time. And it looks like the Blackfish defender Yen fell over on McKee's foot.
Yeah, I think that was one of those unfortunate step on your feet fouls. You know, when you're intense and everybody's close, sometimes just feet are there.
And comment on this horizontal stack Grand Trunk has in the end zone right now with Coster alone at the back.
Unsure that horizontal stack in the front is actually what they're looking for.
All right, Turner here at the front of the end zone. Around to Grieve, and that's a second break in a row for the GT squad, putting life and hope into the dreams of Toronto crossing up into the top 8.
Yep. So you see Turner there turning around to his own teammates with the arms in the air, saying, look, we can do it. And they can. They've shown that they can.
Is this a card for Blackfish?
I believe it is a card for Blackfish. And again, I wish I knew what it was for. This time I would suspect it would be unsportsmanlike just because of some of the discussions that have been going on. It got a little heated a couple of times during some of these discussions, and I suspect they're getting a strong warning from the observers.
And
keep it respectful.
And it looks like Blackfish will likely be calling a timeout. You don't see any of their players going to take the line. So 9-8 Blackfish. It was 9-6, but a hold and 2 breaks from GT, making this a 1-point game.
Yeah, and right now GT has the momentum, and it's them getting into Blackfish's head this time. And you said it before, like the heat, it's heat. There's a lot of heat. It's a long day. These guys are already exhausted. It doesn't take much for those emotions just to, get over to the surface.
So you coached a younger boys team, but still in the open division.
Yep.
What type of things can you say to calm the people down right now?
Well, we try to use each other as the teammates to do it amongst themselves, like to use each other. I'm coaching a young boys team, so we have 3 coaches. We have one who does a lot of work with strategy, another who does a lot of work with defense and energy, and I'm a lot there to deal with a lot of the individual issues. So when we see one player sort of getting into his head or getting riled up a little, we have opportunities sort of to bring that player aside and have a quick talk and say, find out what does he need. Amongst players themselves and teams like Blackfish or Grand Trunk, it helps to have somebody around who's able to just sort of like bring it down, calm them down, or to direct that intensity towards tight D rather than frustration.
All right, so Turner, our trusty D-line puller, ready to dial up another pull for GT. And I don't know if this is going to land in bounds. It is. Collected by Wong. Over to trusted Yen. Sigurdsson doing a great job on that matchup. A slash cut here from McKibben in acres of space by himself. It's okay because his teammates are doing a great job of shutting down the other cuts. So Yen, and that is Grieve getting the better of it. You saw Falk just hesitating on the under, and Grieve just jumping the lane. Coster picking it up so fast. Over to Turner here, and GT just miscommunicating.
I think that's 2 teams right there. Both of them had the same issue of communication between are you going, are you not going, are you going, are you not going, and then all of a sudden the cutter not going and the thrower's already committed.
So now Yen getting a bit of a fresh start here. It is his third 0 point in a row, but hoping to steady the ship here for Blackfish. Faking off that deep cut. Gark doing a great job on McKibben in the lane. And Sigurdsson laying out on the mark, but Fox still getting the disc. Moving it over to Wong. Ramnaran shutting down McKibben in the lane again. GT doing a lot of that team defense. They're helping people out. But a pick being called. And you can see the Blackfish coach trying to yell instructions at them. I'm sure he's saying, hey, young men, you guys are all really good at Frisbee, and I want you to do the best you can. Right, Rose?
I think so. I think he's also saying, give each other space. Look at where everybody is in front of the disc.
All right. Here's Sigurdsson tapping it in. Yen putting it up to that Falk and Grieve matchup. Grieve doing all he can, but Falk retaining possession. Now McKibben just outside the end zone, working that 1-2 game to Falk. And Blackfish back in the scoring column, putting up their 10th point of the game.
And what Blackfish did right there was exactly the right thing to break the momentum of a team that's coming back. I think they probably would have liked to do that on the first try rather than on their, second or third try? Second try, I think. They made it harder on themselves than they probably needed to. And I'd like to see Blackfish get back to the clean kind of play, the space play they were playing earlier. This time they were playing a little bit more nervous.
Yeah, it does seem that Blackfish is prepared to live and die by the end deep shot, you know?
Yeah.
Throwing multiple shots up. Some of them working, some of them not working, but is that enough to get them toward the end of this game?
I think it probably is. I think we're getting close to time. And, you know, as a team, they are definitely using that yen deep shot or the yen around backhand shot. But there are some really nice clean cuts into the middle, especially their first cut. It's their continuation they need to work on.
All right, so GT, a lot of these players were rested. They weren't on that pod that had 3 straight D points. So hopefully they can punch in the hold and make this game a little interesting. So I guess we're going to have a bricked pull here.
Yeah, that was well out.
Looks like Martinez Lung will be tasked with the duties of bringing this in. Oh, not even bricked. I think it went out around. Was this never in bounds? Oh, okay. Looks like it ran out around half, and he's just tapping it in on the sideline. Inside shot to McKee right away. Dumped down to Un. Yates clapping his hands for the disc. Not a lot of options now, but Rorda providing a release valve. A little frantic over Un's head, and it looks like the block is going to be credited with number 20, Tyrus Chow. And Tyrus Chow actually unmarked here, so he's probably going to go deep. But it's okay, uncovering that cut. Tsukamoto, we haven't said his name in a while, but him and Chan in the backfield ready to give Blackfish another break. Over now, so that's a deep shot from Suasola. And looking for Malik, but not even close.
Not even close. You know, Malik definitely had a step or two. That throw was just way too far. And, you know, I think perhaps we're seeing some of the end of the game fatigue showing up, where the precision of some of the earlier throws, the precision of the timing earlier on in the game is not as high as it was at the start.
All right, Yates guarded by Malik here. Over to Martinez Lung. A big backhand hook looking for Dang. A great target. Tough read. And that is
an injury. I think he just came down a little hard.
Injury, but he bounces right back up.
However,
the joys of youth.
Now the investors are going to get involved, because if he called an injury because there was contact, he can stay on the field. If he called an injury because it was just himself landing, he's going to have to take a sub.
And thank you for the Blackfish teammate, number 3, Jordan Wu, letting us know that it is Tyrus Chow that went down with the supposed injury, but not fully injured.
So now just a discussion if he's staying or not.
Looks like he's ready to stay onto the field. Blackfish with another chance to march downfield to a break.
I'm not exactly sure why both coaches went onto the field.
Probably to check in on
Hopefully, that would make sense.
On Chow.
That would make perfect sense.
All right, Chan over here. In the back of it, in the middle of his end zone, a big mark on Rorda. You see that height differential. So
yeah.
Long wingspan versus potentially the quicker faking speeds.
Yeah.
And it looks like, oh, dang, so close to that D. Looking for Malik again. And that was a more measured deep shot. So Malik just steps outside his end zone. Great defense there from Tratnik at the front. But Tsukamoto still getting open, and a nice around throw to a big Josh Jang.
With glue on his hands, apparently.
For the Blackfish break. And
what a grab.
I know it's a break, but does that break the spirits of GT?
You know, well, we're yet to see it. GT knows they can come back. They now know that they can get some points on these guys. They know they can break. They know they can score. Just go back to doing what works. Stick with what works.
These are the times where we wish we had Clay on the stream. Mr. Hard Cap rules, always knowing how much time's left. But I don't think either of us have a clue.
I really don't. I'm so sorry.
Oh, 10 minutes left in the game. So, Rose, a 3-point deficit here. 10 minutes left until hard cap.
It's doable, but they've got to play intense defense, and they've got to play clean and quick O.
Intense defense, clean, quick O. Probably look for a quick deep shot here so they can get back on defense as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I say clean and quick, but not so quick that you're playing not smart or unintelligently.
All right, so it's looking like the observer counting down for Blackfish when they have to put the pull up. And Chan ready to put another pull. Big pull coming through. Looks like Galbronson ready to field it to Tratnik. Tratnik here in the middle. You see a split stack.
Yep.
And that's Turner looking for Yates now. And that throw is coming up regardless. Oh my goodness. A huge grab from Adam Yates, the big man from Toronto, and then found Dang in the end zone for a score.
We said clean and quick. That was clean and quick.
That was one of the two.
And it was definitely quick. But I would say the Yates over the top, that was also a really clean catch. There wasn't a foul there. He had some height, he had the timing, and great hands. Also, way to stick with it to be able to come around with a nice flat release backhand.
Sometimes you have to let athletes go be athletes. And, you know, he used all of his, what were we saying, 6'2", 6'3" frame, 6'5" frame to get over Chan and secure the hold for Grand Trunk.
Yeah. So there's some of our usual D players are back out here.
Yep, seems like a standard line. We got Turner, Sigurdsson, Ramnaran, Illich, Galbronson, Grieve, and Koster. And typical O-line suspect. Look to see a lot of Wong and Yen in the backfield. Probably some isolation cuts from Falk and McKibben. You know, we've seen enough of these to know what each team wants to do.
Yeah.
So inbounds pull, Wong centering to Yen. Vert stack here from Blackfish, missing some defenders. Looks like it's still going down, looking for Falk, but too far from Austin Yen. Giving GT some life into this game.
Yeah, and Yen had eyes only for the end zone. We saw one of his teammates, I think it was Falk, one of his teammates wide open in the open side.
All right, Galbronson picking it up on this front cone. Around to Ramnaran, breaking the mark. And it looks like cramp from Ramnaran. That's some pickle juice, Rose.
Yeah. Exactly, and I love the spirit that the guy who's closest to him, I think that's KO, who's just right away trying to help out his not teammate, but
opponent.
Opponent. Trying to find my words.
And
Little
we have
jog,
McKee
not too injured.
stepping in for the injured Ramnaran. Let's see if both Blackfish coaches love to appear on the field. They're just always on it.
I think they're right now telling them what to do.
Yeah, we'll see if Blackfish doesn't look like they're going to sub anyone out. So, McKee with the disc looking for a reset. Coster getting locked down by Wong, but finding some relief in Gulbronson. Inside to Turner.
Nice
Great grab to keep this alive.
Lost his hat.
Lost his hat, still has the gloves. Gulbronson working with Turner in the backfield. Over to Grieve. Remember, Grieve has had a lot of pressure situations playing for Team Canada U20 over in the summer. Back to Gulbronson. Turner just tearing up yards to do whatever GT asks of him. Now Sigurdsson just outside the end zone. Inside to Gulbronson and a lefty to Sigurdsson. And that's another break.
Well,
11-10 for GT.
Well, GT is definitely bringing it on and has momentum right now. Blackfish, if they want to keep their lead, they've got to like pull it together. Use what they've got. They don't right now. They just need to keep possession.
Yeah, and that's a timeout called by the Blackfish coaches. So 11-10. GT would still need 2 more breaks, but they got 0 breaks in the first half, and now I believe they've gotten 4.
Yeah, pretty sure it's 4.
Yeah, what's some of the differences? Why couldn't they convert in the first half, but they've just, breaks come into plenty here for them.
I think one thing is that they have shortened their roster, their lines. I think they've shortened the bench. There's a couple of their players are playing this like it's their final, and like every point like it's universe. And I think that team that's exactly what they need to do if they want to get the win out of this. There's the timeout going on, and we're seeing pretty much the same lines staying out there, pouring water over their heads, getting a drink of water, chatting amongst themselves. GT is not getting off the line. They're keeping that focus. We're in the game. On the other hand, Blackfish is bringing it in as the team as well. They've got a lot of their usual O-line suspects out there. They've got to just play their game.
Yeah, so at this point, now, this Blackfish O-line has been broken 4 times. Do you make any changes to the O-line?
I don't know. I would actually. At this, there's not the whole O-line. I wouldn't change the whole O-line. But sometimes if you just add 1 or 2 small changes, it forces everybody to think differently and be more concentrated because something's different out there instead of going with what you know.
But certainly,
habits.
Austin Yen, Aiden McKibben,
Wong,
Falk are still out there. So Blackfish showing some trust in this O-line that's gotten them here.
They're not losing.
All right, so big pull, Turner coming up, going a little downwind. So you see this pull sailing to the middle of the end zone. Wong collecting it, and Coster so close, but it looks like he might have clipped Yen on that bid attempt, trying to get a Callahan. We hope Yen is okay.
Yeah. I can't actually see what part of his body he's grabbing to, whether it's his thigh or hip area, but he's definitely looking uncomfortable.
I believe Yen taking an injury sub and Coster getting carded for that potentially dangerous bid. They're shaking hands and saying it's okay.
Yeah, and Yen is not taking an injury sub, and I guess Blackfish is appreciating what he brings to the handler set, and they want him to stay. And he obviously wants to stay. I'm sure he doesn't want to come off the field. Yeah,
it's been a key player is an understatement for what Austin Yen has been able to do for this Blackfish offense, whether it's the breakthroughs to keep it alive, whether it's getting open in the reset handler space, or the many hucks he's thrown. he is synonymous with Blackfish's O-line.
Totally agree. I have nothing more to add to that. That's just absolutely true.
All right, tapping it in here, Sigurdsson has been doing a good job to kind of make his life harder in the first half. So McKibben getting open on Ramnaran here. A little inside over to Wong. Sigurdsson putting on all the pressure he can. Yen still getting open on the sideline here. Illich trying to run up, but that's KO with the disc. Yen swinging it over to McKibben. You see a lot of undercuts, and that is Grieve with a fat layout D to get GT the disc. Koster picking it up here. You got to look for clean offense here down the stretch. Ramnaran, the intensity just ratcheting it up. Galbronson getting it over, but a nice layout snag to keep it alive. DT laying it all out there. Koster over to Illich, and a round backhand looking for Ramnaran. And I believe there was some contact here with Yen. Ramnaran pleading with the observer to uphold this call, but I don't know if a call has been made yet.
And this is where the observers talk is having a conversation with some of the other players on the field, saying it's up to the player on the ground right now. It's up to Ramnaran to make a decision. Are you making a call or not? It's his call to make whether or not there's a foul. Nobody else on the field can make that call for him.
So we saw a couple of heroic grabs from GT to keep the disc alive. Galbronson been hitting the ground. Koster's been hitting the ground. And I think an injury sub is happening. This is very confusing. Is this foul being upheld?
Right now they're going with the injury sub, so Falk is going off.
Sorry, that is Yen coming off. And Chan, number 54, is coming on here. And Grieve is now going to take an injury sub for Yates.
I think Falk went off too, so there's somebody else coming on.
Oh, so there's two subs.
Yeah.
Never mind, number 43 being told not to come on.
No, but there is a new sub coming on, and I can't see who it is yet.
You know what, Blackfish? If we don't say who happened, it's because your shorts don't have the number. I'm so sorry. Okay, that's number 7, Josh Jang.
Perfect.
So Ramnaran, probably that's foul getting upheld. Ramnaran getting the disc in there in the end zone. GT's going to try to create a stack as quickly as possible. Look for Sigurdsson isolated at the front. And Galbronson just steps outside the end zone. McKibben doing a great job, but Turner getting it open on the side. Forcing Universe. The horn did go on that point, so this will be the final point.
It is, and with the horn going off, that means soft cap has gone on, and given that it went on, the horn went and the soft cap went on during that point, it is a game to 1 point higher than the highest score. Given that it's Universe, right now it's 11-11, it's 12. The team is playing to 12. So next point wins.
And the viewers at home getting all you can out of these free Ultimate Canada streams sponsored by B Ultimate and Discraft. And look at the win just picking up now for the Universe points.
No kidding. And right now Grand Trunk is teaching a lesson to everybody, is that no matter what, you're never out of a game. Keep playing, keep putting these guys put their heart and bodies, everything out there. Yes, we're sticking with a shorter line. You know, we've got Koster out there. We've got
Koster, Illich, Turner, Galbronson, Grieve, Ramnaran, and Sigurdsson. Yeah. I believe it's the same line that just came up. And I believe Blackfish is putting out the same line too. So
absolutely.
A little bit of a rematch.
Yeah, and Blackfish, they just need to keep possession. Just play. Don't force anything. Give themselves space. Good in cuts. They've got the speed. They've got the throws. Possession.
Big pull over from Turner, and look for members like Wong, Yen, McKibben to do some work here. So Sigurdsson on the mark, looking for Yen. Maybe another deep shot coming up, and that's just too far for Falk.
It's the game they've been playing a lot, especially in this last second half of the second half. And they seem to have forgotten to use their unders.
So A reset going awry for GT, just too far for Coster.
I'm not sure if they intended a huck and D, but it worked.
Yes, they get now
So
ideal positioning. Look for no one else other than Yen to pick up this disc.
He's absolutely going to pick up the disc. He's directing traffic as he goes. He's telling people what he wants. And right away, I think foul pick mess in the middle.
It looked like Falk was trying to work quickly with Yen and Gulbronson just ramming someone over to stop that disc. It seems like everyone's okay. No contests on the foul call. So Yen with a fresh stall count coming in on 0. And it looks like a couple poaches. And number 16, Sam Wong with the universe point, pushing Blackfish back into the top 8. And what a day for them.
What a game for both teams. And Grand Trunk has absolutely, well, it's easy for me to say they've got nothing to be upset about. They played incredibly well. Of course, they're going to be upset. They're not going into the pool that they want to be in, but they played amazing, and they proved that they can play at this level.
Yeah, Blackfish taking half, I believe 8-5 pretty comfortably on Grand Trunk. We're up 11-8. 3 breaks in a row from GT. 11-11 to Force Universe, and they just didn't have the steam. They did have the chance, but just a reset going awry. You have to feel for them. They're going to try to play for 9th, but like we said at the stop, last year they didn't even get to Nationals. So here they were just 1 point away.
Yeah, and thank you to both teams for giving us an amazing second game of the day to watch.
All right, we have to leave you here because we have to go prepare for a mixed division crossover episode with Quest and Crank. Take care, folks.